Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. It is Monday, October 30th, and I'm your host, Jon Jeune. Of course, without a doubt, got to have my guy in here with me, Greg Pennamon. Greg, how you feeling fresh off this L that your Giants had to take yesterday?
Yeah, it was crazy. Definitely the most ugly, exciting game of all time, for sure. Just if you're a Giants or Jets fan, but if you're a neutral fan, I'm sorry that you had to take place and have to watch that game. It was brutal. But yeah, tough loss for sure. A lot of tough decisions that Dayball did. Also, Graham Gano needs to be cut. I mean, this man really left 6 points on the board, which is like 40 points in that game, really. Yeah, tough loss for sure. But now, it kind of, really opened the door for what the Giants need to do, and that's sell, which they did. They started selling Leonard Williams, man. They might as well trade Daniel Jones to the Vikings if they'll take him out. I don't care. Trade them all. Like, at this point, the Carolina Panthers won, so I'm here for draft season is here,
Yeah, man. That was quite a game to watch yesterday, and we're not gonna, we're sure we'll touch on it a little bit because we got to talk about one player from that game. I think is one or two maybe, but overall it was just not a good football game. I think the only reason why, and obviously you and I, we were together with a bunch of other people that happened to have different rooting interests, and you would have thought there was a Super Bowl going on in that bar we were at.
Yeah, it was crazy.
it was crazy. I mean, obviously we live in New York, and it's split Jets Giants fans. I think I tend to run into more Giants fans than I do Jet fans.
The bar seemed pretty heavy Jets though. I feel like
it did seem like 30 Jets at the bar that we were at.
Like 60-40 Jets, I would say.
Yeah, just about. I mean, either that or Jet fans are just louder.
Maybe.
All right. Well, obviously we got to recap all that was for week 8. And we obviously start with the quarterback position as we always do. But before I get into any of that, just make sure you are liking, commenting, subscribing, all that fun stuff that really does, doesn't cost you anything, doesn't require a lot of effort, but it does definitely help the show. Goes a long way in helping the show. So if you could do that, we'd greatly appreciate that. Obviously, this is our week 8 fantasy football recap. And like I said, we're starting with our quarterback position with the quarterback swags, and the number one quarterback on the week, the number one quarterback swag is Sam Howell. Definitely did not see this one coming. But in regards to his performance against Philadelphia, 39 of 52, 397 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, also added 11 yards rushing. That was good for 31 fantasy points. I mean, at one point he was like 19 of 19, I think, or something like that, like 17 of 19, something where he had, I was like, oh, Sam Howell's, completing a high percentage of his passes. Does finish with 75%, which is still a good number, almost 400 yards passing. But, we both thought that this Philadelphia defense was on an upward trajectory, and that Sam Howell would be, a nice reset for them. But seems like Sam Howell came out here, put up a great performance here against the Philadelphia Eagles. Greg, what'd you make of this performance here by Sam Howell?
Yeah, man. Seems like if he just plays the Eagles every week, man, he'll definitely be killing. I mean, through this second game where he got 397, 290 the first time he played the Eagles. So definitely a great week for him here. Great bounce back from what it was an awful performance against the Giants. Seems like, for his up and down first season, he's definitely got a lot of flashes, been in that streaming category for a lot of fantasy managers this year. Hopefully he can just kind of build off that going into next week. It's going to be tough, though, next week in New England. I don't know if I want to touch that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, so a lot of these Sam Howell games, it's like, I don't know if I want to touch him. And then I look up later, and it's just like, 300 passing yards later, I like the fact that he did get all the receiving options involved in this one. I mean, we saw Terry McLaurin, we saw Jahan Dotson have by far his best game of the season. So I like that aspect of it. But we'll continue to have to see how this thing plays out the rest of the season.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's move on to the QB2 on the day, and that is none other than Joshua Allen, 31 of 40, 324 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, 7 rush attempts for 41 yards, and that rushing touchdown wonderfully called by Greg. Good for 29.1 fantasy points. Greg, what did you think of this performance here by Josh Allen?
Yeah, man, Josh Allen just continuing to do what he does. I mean, after that week 1 dud against the Jets, he's still right at this point the number 1 quarterback in fantasy and total fantasy points. That just shows his firepower, what he could do in ugly games and good games for the team. Continue to ride Josh Allen all the way through, except when he plays the Jets,
Yeah, except for when he plays the Jets. I mean, yeah, what more could you ask for from Josh Allen? I mean, he's going to give you, 300. I mean, to give you 300 yards passing, 40 yards rushing, 3 combined touchdowns. I mean, you can't ask for much more from a quarterback that was probably the first quarterback taken in most drafts. The first or second. I mean, Jalen Hurts was probably getting a lot of first quarterback off the board picks. But he was my number 1 rated quarterback coming into the year, and definitely, I think he was he yours too, Greg?
I think it was Hurts. Yeah, I think it was Hurts. Hurts is too though, so
yeah, Hurts is obviously still very good. But yeah, Josh Allen, you just gotta love this performance. And the Bills go out and sign Leonard Fournette, or they're signing Leonard Fournette pending a physical. Obviously, we know that kills any opportunity that James Cook had of ever seeing a goal line touchdown.
Yeah.
But Greg, do you in any way, shape, or form feel like this impacts Josh Allen's ability to get touchdowns at the goal line?
Maybe slightly, maybe a small percentage. I think this is just more for depth, kind of just help him out in that running back room, just in case of injury, just in case, for wear and tear. They're looking forward late in the season for playoff Lenny too. So, I don't think it'll hurt him too much. Maybe he'll take a touchdown or 2 from his total stats for the year, but not too much.
I mean, doesn't he already have 5 or 6 at this point?
Like he has a lot. I would say, yeah, it's crazy. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he's 5 this year. Rushing touchdowns.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Leonard Fournette is obviously. I mean, he's up there in age. He's older. So what's it gonna look like with him? How much does he have left in the tank? That part we're not really sure. We won't find out until he gets on the field. But like you said, probably does take a small percentage of those touchdowns away from Josh Allen. Not much though. As we saw on Sunday, there's no team. I mean, Jalen Hurts squats like 600 and power cleans like 600. So there's probably like a good reason why the tush push works for them at a high percentage. But if I had to if you put a bunch of quarterbacks in a lineup and you said, hey, you get to pick one for a tush push, I don't know how you don't choose Josh Allen.
No, I gotta take Jalen Hurts, man. And then they got
Jalen Hurts, right? So, but if I'm saying if you didn't know that,
the
ability, you just lined up 1 through 32. How do you not take Josh Allen?
Well, I mean, we know Josh Allen, Yeah.
But I'm just saying, physically put together, 6'5", 240, 250 pounds,
Jalen Hurts squatting this when he's a teenager, probably though.
No, I know.
Yeah.
He's a power lifter.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So it's absolutely ridiculous. But besides the point, don't want to get too far off the rails here. Let's go on to the QB3 on the week. Dak Prescott, 25 of 31, 304 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. Also added 19 rushing yards on 4 rush attempts. Good for 28.1 fantasy points. Greg, what'd you make of this performance by Rain Dakota Prescott?
Yeah, man, this was a great performance from him. Definitely his best performance thus far this season. This is his best performance in a long time, I think, for Dak Prescott, putting up big numbers here, getting Brandon Cooks involved. I think that's really important to kind of adding to his his total fantasy value. So glad to see that. Hopefully they can continue to kind of find that connection, because I know a lot of fantasy managers want Brandon Cooks to be a thing.
Yeah, I was expecting Brandon Cooks to be a thing for sure.
Yeah.
100%. What did Brandon Cooks' stat line look like yesterday, out of curiosity?
He did score a touchdown. I think it was not too many targets, maybe like 4 targets, but he is getting more involved. He had 3 for 49 in the touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice to see another piece be involved in that offense for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have to see. But let's move on to the rest of the quarterback swags, rounding out quarterbacks 1 through 12. And the number 4 quarterback on the week is Joe Burrow. 5, Jalen Hurts. 6, the rookie Will Levis. 7, Justin Herbert. 8, Joshua Dobbs. 9, Tua Tagovailoa. 10, Baker Mayfield. 11, Kirk Cousins. And tied for the QB 12, we have Derek Carr and Brock Purdy. Greg, any of these quarterback performances stuck out to you in a positive manner? I mean, specifically, or not specifically, but outside of this top 12 as well. If there's anyone that intrigued you.
Definitely within the top 12, my man Justin Herbert getting it done, quarterback start of the week, and getting
man, how dare me? Hold on. Did I really just the QB 7 on the week, Justin Herbert, also Greg's start of the week.
Getting it done, man. I was down going into you got it done for me, got the win. So glad I got that. Will Levis as well, big performance, of course. First ever, start to throw 4 touchdowns. That's amazing right there. And yeah, that's I think it's about it. It was Russell Wilson though. He's been playing really well. Touchdown to interception ratio has been absolutely money this year compared to last year, and yeah, he's been doing what he has to do, playing much better in year 2 in Denver.
Yeah, definitely playing much better. Saw an interesting stat today about not stat, it was just comparison of stats. Like Patrick Mahomes statistically has less touchdown passes than Russell Wilson, more interceptions than Russell Wilson, and a worse quarterback rating than Russell Wilson. So something to, just highlight how well Russell Wilson is playing right now. But I want to take it back to the rookie, man, Will Levis. I was not a big fan of Will Levis coming out through the draft. I don't think a lot of people were. I mean, he was most famous for his girlfriend. Yeah. Many people were fond of Will Levis's girlfriend. Let's just say that. And, he was known for sliding in the draft, fell all the way to, was expected to be a first-round pick, potentially one of the top quarterbacks taken, fell to the second round, and comes out yesterday in a game against the Atlanta Falcons where everybody expected him to get steamrolled, and threw 4 touchdown passes, completed 65% of his passes, threw for over 230 yards. This isn't quite the same feelings I got from Justin Herbert. With Justin Herbert, his rookie year kind of just felt different. But this Will Levis thing, there's some intrigue here. I feel like I have to see it again to really believe it, which may not be fair, but we'll see. But Greg, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, I love it here. I saw some of the highlights of all those deep balls. I love that he can get it down the field and throw that deep ball. This really might open up doors for this Tennessee offense, specifically DeAndre Hopkins, who's been struggling all year, and that's because he's not really maybe getting looks down the field. And this could really open doors. So I think he's definitely worth a look, especially with the matchup he's got next week going against Pittsburgh. So they're definitely attackable if he's able to stay in. I'm not sure the status of Ryan Tannehill, but if he started next week, I think he's worth a shot.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel already confirmed that this dude's going to start. They play on Thursday night against the Steelers. That'll be lots of fun. Yeah. Mitch Trubisky versus Will Levis. But we'll see, man. We'll see what Will Levis can do against the Steelers defense. They've obviously been beatable through the air. The Steelers have, so we'll have to see what Will Levis can do with this Tennessee offense. Shout out Kirk Cousins, man. He was balling before his injury.
Facts, man. Facts, man. He's a QB6 in total fantasy points. This is the year, hopefully. I mean, every year he finishes almost as a QB1. And
no, he's a QB1 every year.
Yeah,
QB1 every year.
And now people will give him respect because now he's not there. So they're gonna see what Minnesota look like without Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, man, it's really unfortunate what happened with Kirk Cousins. Like, it's been confirmed he tore his Achilles, so he'll be out for the rest of the season. Yeah, man, that's tough for sure, man. Because Kirk's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league, man. Because he does not get the respect that he genuinely deserves, and he's been very good going back to his Washington days.
Yep.
I think Washington botched that whole contract situation, and I don't, obviously Kirk Cousins had his history with almost being a New York Jet and actually not wanting to be a New York Jet, but I don't hold that against anybody. But yeah, man, Kirk Cousins, man, wish you the best in your recovery, my guy.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else on the quarter? Any positives you want to continue to talk about the quarterbacks before we move on to the negatives, Greg?
No.
All right, let's move on to these quarterback Jags. And I'm going to just throw out a few names. You let me know if you disagree. Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely. Tommy DeVito finished higher than Patrick Mahomes. Tommy DeVito, shout out Don Bosco. Until yesterday, and he finished higher than Patrick Mahomes.
Well, you know what the thing about that is, Greg, is a lot more people started Patrick Mahomes than those who started Tommy DeVito. So.
Right.
Lamar Jackson, that was.
Yeah, you would expect them scoring 31 points too. The run game though, Gus the Bus really kind of took over, especially with touchdowns too.
Yep, and that's another start of the week, which we're going to talk about in the next segment very, very shortly. But yeah, I think you would hope to see more from Lamar. My start of the week, CJ Stroud, he, definitely would hope to see more from him as well. So obviously not a great performance. And then Geno Smith, who I think we were both somewhat confident in his ability to do something against the Bengals or against the Browns. But yeah, he did not come through.
Yeah, those two picks kind of really killed them from getting a kind of a better performance there. He threw for 250 and 2, but yeah, the 2 picks didn't really help him a lot.
Most definitely. Anybody else on the quarterback position that you want to put some light on?
No. I think did expect Matthew Stafford to have a better day, but tough.
We did get our first Taylor Heineke sighting of the season.
There you
go. And in about a half of action, finished as the quarterback 22. So there's that.
Crazy.
All right, let's move on to the running back position, man. Starting with these running back swags, the number one running back on the week is Christian McCaffrey, 12 of 54 rushing, or 12 for 54 rushing, 1 rushing touchdown. Also added 6 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown, 29.8 PPR points on the day. One of my favorite things about Christian McCaffrey is you will look at his box scores and you'll never be able to tell if they won or lost.
Yeah.
Like, you could almost never tell if they won or if they lost. I mean, maybe not the box score. Maybe if you just look at the fantasy production, you can't tell. But yeah, man. I mean, the Niners got whooped yesterday by the Cincinnati Bengals, and did not even matter here for Christian McCaffrey as he just continued to be everything for this 49ers offense. Greg, what'd you make of this performance here by CMC?
Yeah, this is what I expect every week. Can't take it for granted though. I mean, if San Fran didn't lose 3 straight, I mean, I definitely would have still been on that's CMC for MVP bandwagon. But yeah, it's tough that the team had lost 3 straight for sure. Hopefully it can get back on track because this man is amazing. And death taxes and Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown, man. Lock it in. Just bet it now. Just bet it now for next week.
Definitely, man. You should just go out there and do that.
They're on a bye. Sorry, can't get it. Can't get one.
Can't get it next week.
Crazy.
Can't get it next week, but most definitely want to bet that CMC. I mean, if you bet the Travis Etienne 2 touchdowns, it's done. It's over. Maybe because we jumped on it. Who knows?
We got the one though. He still got the one.
Oh no, he still got the one for sure. All right, let's move on to the RB2 on the day, and I'm definitely not going to miss this one. Greg's running back start of the week, Gus Edwards. Greg, big call here, man. 19 of 80 or 19 rushes for 80 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. Also added 2 targets on 2 receptions on 2 targets for 14 receiving yards. Greg, what'd you make of this performance here by your start of the week, Gus the Bus?
Yeah, man. Gus the Bus continuing to roll another week with a very efficient rushing count, average 4.2 yards per carry. Still, targeted in the passing game as well. Got 2 receptions as well. Last week had a huge play with the 80-yard reception. But Gus is kind of, revving up here for sure for this team, standing out as the kind of the lead back for this team with, I guess, that 3-headed monster with him, Justice Hill and Lamar. I think you got to continue to treat him as a strong RB2 with some RB1 upside, especially on one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now in Baltimore.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you get an RB2 in a plus matchup, man, you don't even really think about that one. You just go ahead and plug them in.
Yep.
And that's what Gus did for you here, man. So love to see this performance. And like I said, back when it was, I think it was like 4 weeks ago, I said, I'm just going to keep throwing Gus out there until the Ravens stop giving him the ball. And they have not stopped. So going to keep throwing him out there. Moving on to the RB3 on the day, Alvin Kamara, 17 rush attempts, 59 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown, also added 5 targets for 4 receptions and 51 receiving yards and another tutty, 27 PPR points on the day. Greg, what'd you make of this performance here by Alvin Kamara?
Also, not surprised. I mean, it's no argument. He's the best value pick in the draft, hands down. You're getting him, mid, maybe 3rd, 4th round, but he's giving you RB1 value, like top 3 RB1 value. He's beside after McCaffrey, leading in fantasy points per game. So he's been the guy for this team. He's been everything for this team. Continue to play him with much confidence.
Yeah, definitely continue to roll him out there, man. I was explaining to you yesterday, I have a team that has Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall. It was looking bleak, man. We started out 0-4, but now, we are looking at potentially, hopefully being 4-4 before this day is done. But most definitely a value pick there for sure with the 3-game suspension that he was facing coming into the year.
Yep.
Rounding out these running backs, man. These running back swags here. We've got the Travis Etienne coming in at 4, Austin Eckler coming in at 5, my start of the week, Breece Hall coming in at 6, Joe Mixon coming in at 7, Javonte Williams 8 rather, Rashad White 9, Derrick Henry 10, Saquon Barkley 11, and Zach Moss, you little pesky running back, coming in as the RB12, tying with DeAndre Swift for the RB12. Greg, what do you make of these performances by these top running backs and any other running back performances that stuck out to you in a positive manner?
For top 12, I mean, love to see Joe Mixon in here. If you were able to buy Joe Mixon, I think that would have been a huge for you, especially, what he's able to do in next game. You see the Bengals offense is back, fully back in every way. So this is only good things for Joe Mixon and this offense. They got Buffalo. It's about to be a wild match. He's about to, continue to go off, I think. And other than that, I mean, after that, Saquon, I think just shouting out Saquon for doing what he really earned every single million yesterday in the rain. They put him through so much, almost got 40 carries. So that's crazy. Zach Moss is not going to go away, man. He's not going to go away. I'm here to say he's just going to be, he's running really well. He got 6 yards per carry yesterday. There's no reason why they shouldn't use both him and JT.
Yeah, I think there's something more going on there potentially. JT had 12 carries for 95 yards in the first half, and then he finished the game with 12 carries for 95 yards. So
feel like that's happened before in his career.
Somebody had showed a video of him coming up after a play, getting hobbled. You know, he was hobbled a little bit, and then he hadn't received a carry after that. So it's possible he got a little dinged up in the game, and
it's an easy pivot to make. If Zach Moss playing well, like, why not risk the guy who just paid millions of dollars? You know?
Yeah, most definitely. And then, Saquon, man, 41 opportunities. That was.
I don't even think Derrick Henry maybe got close to that in his prime, but I haven't seen that since, like, I don't know, before football stuff.
We've seen Derrick Henry get that in like playoffs, right?
Yeah.
This is gonna go back a little bit, but I feel like Saquon should have done what Terrell Pryor did in the middle of a game once, where Terrell Pryor, famously a quarterback for the Ohio State University, went to the league as a quarterback, was later transitioned to a wide receiver, and the Browns, he was a wide receiver for the Browns at the time, and the Browns asked him to go into a game at quarterback because they were, suffer so many injuries, and he was like, nah, if y'all want me to go in at quarterback, like, y'all need to redo my contract. Like, right now, I don't get paid to play quarterback. I get paid to be a wide receiver.
For real, though.
For real. And so Saquon should have been like, y'all need to rework this contract, right?
Like right now. Like
right now.
Yeah. Like, this man, 24, right. 21, and 36 carries in the last 3 weeks. Like, they're really working this man.
Yeah, man, most definitely. Anything else on the running backs that you want to bring up, Greg?
No.
I'm just scanning.
It's a solid week for running backs, though.
Definitely a solid week for running backs. I got nothing. All right, let's move on to the wide receiver position. And the number one wide receiver on the day, CeeDee Lamb, 14 targets, 12 catches, 158 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also added 1 rush attempt for 12 rushing yards. Man had 41 PPR points on the day. Oh, man. I'm really happy I did not go against CeeDee Lamb yesterday anywhere. Greg, your thoughts on the performance by CeeDee Lamb? At one point at halftime, I think I pulled my phone out. I showed you he had like 100 yards and two touchdowns before the half. What would you make of this performance here by CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah, big time performance here. You love to see him kind of doing what he has to do all year, being everyone's scared. He's being the only guy. The defense is going to focus on him. He's still dogging. He's the wide receiver 9 in fantasy. He's been a true wide receiver 1 all season, so he's going to continue to put up these numbers. Yeah,
man. Just ever since Richard Sherman called him out, man, I don't know. It's like 2 straight 100-yard games here. I mean, these matchups are kind of nice though too. So but I like to lean into the narrative that he's playing angry.
So is AJ Brown. I mean, ever since that discussion.
Is AJ Brown never not angry?
True. True.
Let's move on to the wide receiver 2 on the day, man. DeAndre Hopkins, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 128 receiving yards, and 3 touchdown receptions here. Imagine having 3 touchdowns and still finishing not finishing as the wide receiver 1. That's crazy. But 34.8 PPR points on the day. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by DeAndre Hopkins?
First touchdown of the year, and then he got all 3 in one game. You love to see it. Hopefully, this is a situation where I think Will Levis can open up again. What I was saying, open up this offense. We kind of revitalized D-Hop's season with the Titans. I mean, he's been pretty much strangling as a wide receiver 3, and now he can kind of bump up to being a solid wide receiver 2, I think, rest of the season.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, hopefully this continues with Will Levis. I mean, this matchup wasn't particularly a great one either. You did mention that AJ Terrell's been giving it up a little bit. But yeah, D Hop, just continue to roll him out there if he's going to continue to play like this. And he gets Pittsburgh next, and Pittsburgh is a fantastic matchup for wide receivers. So continue to lean into that. Moving on to the wide receiver 3 on the week, the man who we referred to as being angry. I think his teammates call him Swole Batman. AJ Brown, man, 8 for 8, 130 receiving yards, 2 touchdown receptions, 33 PPR points on the day. Had a fabulous one-handed catch for a touchdown. It was just fantastic. Greg, what'd you make of the performance here by AJ Brown?
I'm speechless, man. This man has really been putting up like numbers, like Jeff last year numbers. Like, it's crazy. He has, I think, his lowest mark since week 3 as far as yards is 127. That's crazy. Continue to roll him out there. Jalen Hurts is just finding him with those deep balls. I think that's the prettiest play right now in football. A deep ball from Hurts to AJ Brown, man, it's beautiful.
Yeah, man, it's just a great feeling if you were able to buy him after week 2.
Yep.
I know we did that, and it's been working really, really nice for us.
Yep.
Yeah, man, AJ Brown just absolutely balling, man. Moving on to the wide receiver, the rest of the wide receivers are rounding out this top 12 here. Tied for the wide receiver 4, we got Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase. At 6, we got Jalen Waddle. At 7, we got Jahan Dotson. At 8, we have Rashid Shaheed. At 9, we have Gabe Davis. At 10, we have Devontae Smith. 11, Jamison Crowder. That's an old name to have up here. And then at the wide receiver 12, we've got Tyler Lockett. Greg, any of these performances that stuck out to you in a positive way? And, anybody that was outside this top 12 that stuck out to you, you want to shout out?
Yeah, I mean, I love the big time names in here. Always like that. You have the guys you draft in first, second round to be in here. Chase, love Waddle being in here as well. And Devontae Smith, welcome. Let's go. I'm glad you made your way back. Other than that, the guys outside, I mean, Addison again finishing top 15 receiver, Michael Pittman as well. Garrett Wilson just doing again, just being relevant, man. It's all year, man. Just doing what he has to do. And probably the worst fantasy situation you could be in as a receiver is crazy.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been pretty bad for Garrett Wilson, and we talked about that ad nauseum on here. Just shout out. I mean, look, he was a my guy come in the year, or my guy for me coming into the year. Was he my guy? My break? Oh, he's my guy because my breakout. I have to go back and look at the notes because I think my sleeper was Jordan Anderson, but my guy for me coming into the year, and obviously I was really high on him with Aaron Rodgers, and then that all ended in like 4 snaps. But he's been a solid wide receiver 2 for you every week. Michael Pittman Jr., ever since Gardner Minshew took over this role, I mean, he's just. I mean, we've seen it just lift up both these pass catchers. Josh Downs also, another game with 5 receptions. Jahan Dotson, welcome to 2023.
I feel like the entire fantasy nation was waiting for him to get a big game here.
Yeah, man. And then Brandon Ayuk, it was a big receiver day too. It felt like.
Yeah, it was.
So for Ayuk, go out here 9 targets, 5 receptions for 109. Like that's still a good day here. So yeah.
For Kendrick Bourne, he was on his way having another good day, and he tore his ACL. So just a shout out as far as we see you.
Yeah, man, that sucks, man, because he was just getting going too.
Yeah. Yep.
We are on receivers. Duffy has a question for us. Trade Amon-Ra and TJ Hawkinson for Jamar Chase and Mark Andrews. Like, if the Jamar Chase and Mark Andrews manager is considering doing this deal, I would do it.
Absolutely.
I just don't feel like they're considering it. But Duffy, you could definitely try.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting a slight upgrade at both spots, pretty much. So, you're getting the upgrade nonetheless. So I'll take that.
Most definitely. And then attitude error mark. I'm down 26.64. I have Gibbs and Goff tonight. He has nothing. Half PPR. Do I get there?
I think you do.
I think you do too.
You're hoping, Goff gets at least 15. So I'm thinking he gets like 18, 19 points. And Gibbs should have a big day. I think, you want him. Even without a touchdown, I think Gibbs could get you the remaining points.
Yeah, most definitely. I think if anything, you're hoping that you get like a lot of, Gibbs, Goff to Gibbs receptions,
Yep.
maybe a touchdown so that, that touchdown becomes worth 10 for you instead of 4 or 6. So I think you have a good chance though.
Yeah.
All right. Rounding out these the wide receiver position, moving on to the wide receiver Jags. Greg, anybody you want to shout out as a wide receiver Jag for you this week?
I guess Chris Olave, DJ Moore, and I guess Drake London. I wouldn't, he got injured. He did get injured. Yeah, so never mind. Yeah, I think just those two though. Those are two big names that Puka Nacua as well.
Yeah, Puka and Cooper Kupp, man.
Yeah, and Cooper Kupp, yeah.
I mean, George Pickens, I think he caught a touchdown.
He did.
But I think we were hoping for a bigger day from him.
Yes. Well, it's Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk has been balling all year. He's been one of the best wide receiver twos in fantasy. So, not his best day.
Yeah, no, and I believe he was your start of the week, as was Tank Dell was my start of the week.
And Nico.
And Nico Collins also. I mean, CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, Tank Dell crashing.
Christian Watson, something's up with this Packers offense. It really.
Jaden Reed ran the most routes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, man, most definitely. Anything else you want to add on the wide receiver position, Greg, before we move on?
No.
Let's move on to the tight end swags. The number one tight end on the week.
Stream of the week number one, man. That's what's up.
Was he your stream of the week?
He was your stream of the week, I thought.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He was my stream of the week.
I mean, I talk about Trey McBride every week, but he's like my waiver wire tight end of the year, I think. Like, I'm like Trey McBride, yo. Like,
no, you've been talking about Trey McBride for a few weeks now. So,
yeah.
Like, that was very easy. And I think when I brought him up as my stream of the week, I was very surprised that he was not your stream of the week because you had talked about him so much. But, yeah, man, I can't even take full credit for this one. I mean, the Zach Ertz injury just kind of made it easy.
Yeah.
But 14 targets, 10 receptions, 95 receiving yards, and a touchdown there, 25.5 PPR points. Greg, what'd you make of this performance here by Trey McBride?
Yeah, this was coming. I think the blow-up game, glad it came sooner than maybe we expected, maybe a week or two early. But he's here. No Zach Ertz. He's on IR, so I think you can consider him a tight end one, honestly. Just with the fact that he's going to get targeted. You shift all those targets that Zach Ertz was getting to Trey McBride. He's a talent at the position. Even with Kyler Murray coming back, I think he'll still be a focal point in this offense.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Trey McBride is going to continue to be a focal point. Coming in this game, Arizona led the league in tight end targets, and that's just going to continue to be the case here for Trey McBride and the Arizona Cardinals offense. I mean, look, this was even in a tough matchup. I said it going into this game. There's a certain threshold when it comes to wide receivers where I'm willing to go into a bad matchup. And, typically I found it to be about 30% target share where it's like, all right, I don't really care what the matchup looks like. If you're going to see 30% of targets, like, let's go. For tight ends, I don't know what that number is, but if you told me any tight end was going to get 14 targets going in the game, like, I don't care if it's Gerald Everett. They're going to my lineup.
Word, man. Word.
All right, moving on to the tight end 2 on the day. George Kittle, 11 targets, 9 receptions, 149 receiving yards, 23.9 PPR points on the day. Greg, what'd you make of this performance here by George Kittle?
Yeah, George Kittle balling out. Second straight week now. He's played pretty well. A solid floor. Definitely responded well from that Cleveland game where he had a dud. But you love to see here. He's got the bye next week. But yeah, I mean, George Kittle anytime if he can just come through and give a little more consistency, that'd be great for fantasy managers.
Good luck. Good luck.
I know.
You're never
it's,
gonna get
it's been up and down. It's been up and down, but his up is like can be tied in too. So I'll take the up, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big correlation between George Kittle and George Kittle's fantasy points and Deebo Samuel missing time.
Okay.
And so maybe you could sell high on George Kittle right before Deebo comes back. Who knows, right? Like, if I could turn George Kittle into like Dallas Goedert plus, right? Like,
yeah.
So definitely worth some. Like, if I could turn George Kittle into Sam Laporta plus, I would do that because I want the consistency, right? Like, yes, obviously I know George Kittle has these like big blow up weeks, but he also has like those 4-point weeks, which like don't do anything for you.
No, those are games you lose for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And
He's
so
got 3-4 games this year under 6 points, 6 points or under. So yeah.
And I promise you, I could almost bet like as a George Kittle manager, you probably lost those weeks.
Yeah.
Moving on to the tight end 3 on the day. Taysom Hill. Greg, I could tell your face. You was ready. You was ready for me to say another name here.
Oh, weird. I'm just glad. Just glad, man. He just won't go away, man. We gotta just embrace it at this point.
Taysom Hill. This receiving stat line not so pretty. 1 run catch on 1 target for 14 receiving yards. But as we talked about coming into this game against Indianapolis, when I look at Taysom Hill and the ability to start him, it does nothing to do with the team's ability to cover the tight end. It's like, how good is your run defense?
Yep.
We talked about the Colts struggling as a run defense, and this being a spot where you're like, hey, I'm totally comfortable putting Taysom Hill in this game. And boy, did it come through, man. 9 carries, 63 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Also added 1 pass completion on 2 pass attempts for 44 passing yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. That was all good for 22.5 PPR points. Greg, what did you make of this performance here by Taysom Hill?
Third straight week now, he's been heavily involved in this offense. He's the tied in 11. With those 3 weeks, he's the tied in 11 now in total fantasy points. I think you gotta kind of have him in your line. If you're struggling for a tight end, if you don't have one of those big name people, Taysom Hill's gotta be in your lineup right now. I think he's just been using a lot of packages, and in general, he's just been a great rusher this year.
See, but this is crazy, man, because you really get into chasing the dragon territory with Taysom Hill, where you're like, do I play Taysom Hill or do I play Jake Ferguson? And if yesterday you played Taysom Hill, like you got it right. Yeah. You got it right. But there's also going to be those weeks where Taysom Hill doesn't convert on the rushing touchdowns, or maybe he doesn't get the 9 rush attempts, and maybe it's 2, right? And like you are getting into some dangerous territory there. But then again, it's like, what's the difference between Taysom Hill and like George Kittle? Except like one was undrafted and one was like a 5th or 6th round pick.
Yeah, as far as like how the games are going, as far as up and down, he got Chicago next week. I mean, that's a great matchup. I mean, I think I would want to. I'll be leaning to that.
Yeah, man, this is going to be a fun or frustrating one to deal with all year. But
he's a super flex gadget play, definitely for sure too.
Is he though? Because it's like you're just putting a tight end in your super flex. Like, all right, let's move on to rounding out these top 12s, man. The tight end 4 on the week, TJ Hawkinson. At 5, we got Cole Kmet. 6, David Njoku. 7, we have Dalton Kincaid. 8, Evan Ingram. 9, Logan Thomas. 10, Jake Ferguson. 11, Donald Parham Jr. And tight end 12 is Mark Andrews.
It's a strong tight end week.
Very strong tight end week.
TJ Hawkinson finishing 3rd with 20 points is crazy.
Fourth,
yeah. Crazy. Oh, 4th. You're right. I forgot him. That's crazy. Yeah, it was a good week.
Definitely a good week. I mean, look, Travis Kelce didn't even make it, and he scored 11.8 PPR points, which most weeks that's like the tight end 3 or 4.
Right. But you know who wasn't in the house though. That's why. Just adding another data point to the team.
Well, the average went up because he got 58 receiving yards. This
okay.
time.
Versus it was like 40 something.
It was like
All right.
46, I think.
Okay.
Or maybe they just played a team for the second time that is very familiar with Travis Kelce, and who knows, man? I don't know.
Man, Patrick Mahomes finishing lower than I don't remember his name. Something DeVito again. I can't. Tommy DeVito, man. That's that's tough, man.
Oh man. Any other positives that you want to add from the tight end position this week, Greg?
No, not really. Yeah, not really any positives other than the guys that did what they had to do, finish top 12.
Well, it's time for the touchdown or not tight end of the week, man. And this one feels really dirty. Like, I don't even want to give this one out because, first off, you look at these tight end stats and you look at these tight end numbers, like who was really deserving of the touchdown or not? Like, even like the guys with low target totals or low yardage totals, rather. Like Logan Thomas, 44 receiving yards, but he had 6 catches. I mean, that's still like 10.4 PPR points. Like,
yeah. I'll take
still
that.
pretty good, right? Like
Yep.
Jake Ferguson, not particularly great. Donald Parham, who is very used to being the touchdown or not tight end of the week, like he had
got 4 in the year. It's crazy.
So this one felt really dirty, but I felt like there was nobody more deserving of it than Taysom Hill.
Yes, technically he had 1 reception for 1 reception. Yards.
Yes. 1 reception, which did not result in a touchdown.
Right. And none of his was receiving yards. Like, yes, by definition, he is the touchdown and not tight end of the week. Yes.
I mean, the only rules are you have to be the highest scoring tight end in the top 12 that had the least amount of catches for the least amount of yards.
I would have said Drew Ogletree just needs to finish top 12. That would have been an easy one.
That would have been an easy one.
Yeah.
But Taysom Hill, by the criteria doesn't say anything about rushing yards.
Nope.
So he is our touchdown or not tight end of the week.
Man had 44 passing yards too.
Yeah. No, it's absurd. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Rounding out or moving on to the tight end Jags, these just the guys. Sorry, Travis Kelce. Any other tight end that finished tight end 13 with 11.8 PPR points does not get on this list. But you are Travis Kelce. You are on this list.
Yep.
Dallas Goedert, my tight end start of the week.
Dalton Schultz, man. Just when I could trust him. Goes right back to early season, man. 2.5 points.
And Kyle Pitts.
Yeah,
right back,
both.
Just when I got Greg to be like he'd be willing, Kyle Pitts over Gerald Everett. He said Kyle Pitts, and then now look what happened.
It's crazy.
Any other Jags you want to throw out there, Greg?
No. Darren Waller got hurt, so that really hurt the team.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We got a few questions before we move on to waivers and injuries, but Hanson Huang says, I traded ETN and Waddle for Pollard and Kupp before yesterday. Y'all think I still win the trade in the long run? So you acquired Pollard and Kupp. I think you guys, I think at best you break even.
I probably wouldn't have done that trade though. I think ETN's one of the hottest running backs in fantasy, like right now.
Yeah, I don't think I would have done it either. I mean, the only argument is you're getting Kupp and you're buying on the volume of Pollard and you're hoping that the volume becomes touchdowns, but he's going on a streak of being one of the players with the most touches without a touchdown at this point.
Yeah, because Matthew Stafford has no touchdowns. So like,
well, I was talking about Pollard.
Oh, Pollard, yeah, then Kupp has been down as far as touchdown production as well. So
And Matthew Stafford's now injured, so what does that do to Cup going forward, right? Like,
yeah.
So I think at best you break even. I think at best Pollard starts scoring touchdowns. ETN stops scoring 2 a game, which he'd stopped. And then Waddle, who's very productive when healthy, is not always healthy. So I think that's probably your best shot at potentially breaking even on this. Or if Waddle has to miss some time, then yeah, you win the trade. But that's for injury, not for performance.
Yeah, you don't really trade too much. You don't really have injury in mind when you're trading.
Yeah.
And
Unless it's counter.
Yeah. But just trading a Miami Dolphins piece that hurts my heart a little bit.
Yeah. Chris Miz 71890 says, I got a question for you guys. I have 107.7 versus my opponent 105.4. I have Jared Goff left, and my opponent has Amon-Ra St. Brown. If he does play tonight, do I still have a chance of winning? I guess Amon-Ra St. Brown is questionable to play tonight. But if he still plays tonight, do you have a chance of winning? You have a chance. You have a chance.
Yeah, up. Sure. Jared Goff, on average, quarterbacks do get more than wide receiver as long as all of Jared Goff's touchdown production doesn't go to Amon-Ra.
But if all of his pass attempts go to Amon-Ra, I don't think that's going to look pretty good for you.
You can get a deep ball to Jameson. He's coming up a little bit more.
Big Sam Laporta game.
Yeah, Sam Laporta game. I think he has a 70% chance of winning.
70%? That's pretty good. Pretty good chance.
Yeah, 70.
Let me see. Is this half or full? He didn't say. I'm just gonna make an assumption. We'll go with half. And if I just look very quickly at what I have projected for this game. Yeah, it's gonna be close. In a half, I've got Amon-Ra outscoring Goff by like half a point. So based on that, yes, you would win. But you ask if there's a chance. I think you definitely have a chance for sure. All right, we do have some more questions in here, but I do want to move on to news and injuries before hitting the waivers as we are up against it. Did start a little late today, so apologize for that, guys. In terms of the injuries this week, again, not a great week. Kenny Pickett, quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's not a lot of optimism according to Ian Rappaport for him on Thursday Night Football against the Tennessee Titans as he's dealing with a rib injury. Kirk Cousins, as we talked about, likely to miss the rest of the season. I think it's been confirmed through an MRI that he did suffer a ruptured Achilles tendon and will miss the remainder of the 2023 season. New England wide receiver Kendrick Bourne, who we also talked about, was carted off the field on Sunday. MRI also confirmed that he has suffered a torn ACL, and he will miss the remainder of the season. New York Giants quarterback Tyrod Taylor, he suffered an injury, was taken to the hospital on Sunday for further evaluation, continues to be in the hospital as of today. He's dealing with a rib injury. New York Giants tight end Darren Waller suffered an injury and was quickly ruled out. Seemed to have aggravated the hamstring injury that he came into the season with, and has been trying to manage all season. And then at quarterback, LA Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, he suffered a thumb injury on his right hand, so that'd be his throwing hand, and he's questionable for Week 9. The Rams have a bye in Week 10. Sean McVay did hint that IR is a possibility for Matthew Stafford, dealing with an injury to his throwing hand there. So, Greg, that being said, let's jump into the waivers here. Who's your top ad at the quarterback position this week?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of injuries to quarterback specifically. So I know, there's some options out there. I think definitely for this week. Let's start with Will Levis. He's going against Pittsburgh. He's 4% rostered. He's out there. 4 touchdowns on Sunday, Thursday night. So quick turnaround. But he's got a solid matchup here. I think he can get some opportunity, at least to maybe not 4 touchdowns, passing touchdowns again, but I think he can still find his way to get some in the end zone there. After that, Derek Carr, he played well against Indy and 37% rostered, and he's got one of the best matchups you can have for quarterback right now, going against Chicago next week. So I think if for a very inconsistent player, I think this could be a week where he finishes in the top 12. Gardner Minshew versus Carolina. I think this offense is open up as a whole. Carolina definitely they showed up against CJ Stroud, but I think 2 weeks in a row might be a little fluke for them to do. So I think Gardner Minshew will have some opportunities there to finish in like a top 15, 16 week. And Baker Mayfield going against Houston next week. He's 30% rostered. Had a solid game against Buffalo. Almost got that win if it wasn't for a penalty call late in that game that didn't go that way. I think those 4 guys can be serviceable. I know Sam Howell going against New England really scares me, but if you're desperate, and I think if you have confidence in him, I think he's worth the shot next week as well.
Yeah, I would have to check to see how many teams we even have on bye this week. Obviously haven't started prepping for the week ahead in week 9. But we have Denver, Detroit, Jacksonville, and San Fran all on bye this week. So Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, and Brock Purdy.
Yeah, there's a lot of managers have those names. So yeah,
correct. And those are like, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy. Those are like, middle tier, I think, QB options that people have, right?
Mhm.
And, maybe those managers have 2, because Brock Purdy was questionable coming in this game with a concussion. Jared Goff has, I don't think anybody fully ever trusts Jared Goff just because it's Jared Goff. And then Trevor Lawrence obviously was dealing with his knee injury a couple weeks ago as well. So it makes me almost feel like a lot of people have options. But like you mentioned, Sam Howell or you don't particularly like this game for Sam Howell, but Will Levis and some of these other guys have some opportunities as well. What about the running back position, Greg? What do you got?
So I got it kind of broken down into 3 tiers here. Kind of the first tier is running backs you can use right now. Derek Henderson, he's 45% rostered. Even in an ugly game where they were playing from behind, he still was able to get some receiving marks, 3 receptions for 54 yards. So that's a good sign for providing a floor. So I think he can provide, rest of the season, RB3 value with some RB2 weeks sprinkled in there. Amari Demercado, he had 21 touches. He's leading in this opportunity the last 2 weeks. He's 36% rostered. So I think if you're, with the bye weeks next week, and just to add to some depth that you might need to start a running back, those 2 guys I think are names you should target first. After that, kind of the middle tier running backs where you might need some depth, more stash options. Justice Hill, Pierre Strong, and Devin Singletary. I think 39, 10%, 20% rostered respectively. Those guys are involved in their offense, not heavily, but enough to be fantasy relevant, I think, and especially in PPR leagues. And then lastly, the 3 guys are truly stashed for maybe possibly injury situations. Zach Charbonnet, Tahaje Spears, and Jamal Williams. I think Zach Charbonnet also played well on Sunday. He's 42% rostered. Tahaje Spears still getting opportunities. He's 49% rostered, and Jamal Williams 36% rostered. But if any of those RB1s in front of them gets injured, they are going to slide in as RB1s at the minimum RB2s. So I think definitely those guys should be rostered more and more, especially as we get to playoff time.
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, those guys, especially those guys that you talked like Charbonnet outsnapped Kenneth Walker yesterday, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. Obviously, if you're looking through the box score, that's something that you're not particularly going to see. So Charbonnet's somebody that should be rostered, man. These running backs that are just like an injury away from being, fantasy relevant, like they should be on your roster if you have the opportunity or the bench space to be able to fit them in, because you don't want to run to the waiver wire. At this point in the season, like you probably don't have a lot of money left, right? Like in your fat budget, or like maybe you're towards the end of the priority, and you don't want it to be like dependent on, oh, how much fab money do I have left? Well, like what waiver priority do I have for you to pick these guys up? You want to pick them up, get ahead of the trends, pick them up as you take a look at these landscapes, take a look at these opportunities, right? Like you might even be onto a guy before we're onto it just by taking a look, right? So just be mindful of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Greg, wide receiver, man, what do we got there?
Wide receiver, not too many strong names, but I think some depth. Wide receiver 3, Tyler Boyd. He's been sneaky consistent this year. 48% rostered. He's giving fantasy managers a solid floor as a wide receiver 3, especially with this Bengals offense revving up and they're fully back. I think with Joe Burrow, I think all 3 of these guys, are back to kind of being fantasy relevant. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but Boyd being 3rd on that list. But they don't really throw to the tight end, so Tyler Boyd is going to be a guy that's going to give you some consistency. And I think, Demario Davis is worth a shot, a look at. Right when Kendrick Bourne got hurt, I think,
Demario Douglas,
3% rostered. He's, definitely shifted. The targets kind of shifted to him as being the lead receiver for this Patriots offense. I think he's going to continue to be the lead receiver for this Patriot offense. I don't know, what that means as far as his production, but I think he can give you some wide receiver 3 weeks as well. And hopefully in some shootouts can give you a wide receiver 2 weeks. Maybe give you what Kendrick Bourne was giving fantasy managers. And then, deeper leagues, Michael Wilson, he's 2nd receiving yards Sunday, 15% rostered. Kyler Murray is also coming back very soon. I think that could kind of bolster his productivity a little bit. So I think he's a guy that you can look at. And then for much deeper leagues, Brandon Cooks and Jaden Reed as well are names that maybe can look at. Brandon Cooks hopefully starts to get more chemistry with Dak Prescott. And then Rashid Shaheed, he's like the ultimate boom and bust wide receiver right now, really. So that's Sunday morning. You need to break the emergency glass as well. Jamison Crowder came up only. Curtis Samuel got missed some time. I think he's only relevant if Curtis Samuel is going to be missing some time. So I wouldn't really go crazy on him.
I mean, Dotson probably gets the higher bump if Samuel has to continue to miss time, right?
Yeah. Yep.
What about tight end, Greg? What do we got there?
Hey, man, Trey McBride's only rostered in 20% of leagues. You got to. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. He needs to be the number 1 pickup for tight end. Go get this man, possible future tight end 1 rest of the season, especially with the targets he's going to get. Logan Thomas, still 44% rostered. You saw what he can do, showing, with Sam Howell. He also probably would get a bump as well if Curtis Samuel does miss some time. So I like that there. And then Taysom Hill, 35% rostered, 3rd straight game with over 50 total yards, how much yards he gets it passing, carrying, receiving, doesn't really matter. So I think if you're in need of a tight end, especially with the bye weeks next week, he's got a good matchup too going against Chicago.
Yeah, man, definitely love all those options at the different positions across the waivers. Yeah, man. I mean, Greg, do you need any miracles for Monday night before we close this one out?
I do need some heavy Jahmyr Gibbs, and I got the Detroit Lions defense going tonight in one of my leagues. But other than that, leagues wrapped up, winning more actually. So that's definitely a good week for me. But yeah, I'm gonna need a huge Jahmyr Gibbs and a lot of Detroit Lions takeaways.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like I need a pretty big Michael Mayer day, pretty big Jahmyr Gibbs day. I feel like I need Jahmyr Gibbs to score like in a certain range of points, like not like more than this, but less than this, because I going up against him in another league in a half PPR. So yeah, man, it's gonna be quite the interesting Monday night sweat. So we'll see how this thing goes, man. But we do have some more comments, and we just want to clean these out. Attitude error mark asking, can you rate my lineup? I have Goff, wide receiver AJ Brown, Keenan Allen, Pacheco, Gibbs. At tight end, he's got Pitts. Flex is Bijan. Jets defense, he's got DK Metcalf, Mostert, Ayuk, Madison, Michael Thomas, and Stroud. I'm 5-1 in first place. My obvious weakness is tight end, but quarterback. We need trade ideas. Nobody is fighting. Thanks, Scott.
Go get Trey McBride. Definitely put that money in, or fab, or put that waiver priority in for Trey McBride to help out the tight end. And yeah, QB is tough. Golf is not obviously the strongest offense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Goff, right? Like, Goff. I mean, there was at one point, right, like a couple weeks ago, he was the QB5 prior to the Baltimore game. Obviously, it's less than ideal. I also like Stroud as well, obviously. So I feel like I would just continue to play the game you're playing now, which is which of these.
If you have Stroud on the bench, you're right. I think you're fine there, yeah. Right,
you've got these two guys, and hey, the highest total, best matchup. Throw that guy in there.
Yep, absolutely. But then tight end, go get Trey McBride. Yeah.
And hey, you know what? Depending on what platform you play in, you could probably go pick up Michael Mayer right now.
True. That's true. Yeah. Michael Mayer. Yeah. And if maybe Logan Thomas out there, But yeah, I think those names you should be looking at.
Most definitely. All right, man. Let's close this one out, Greg. Have a good one, everybody. Good luck in whatever you need tonight. I hope y'all get it, unless, of course, as I always say, you are trying to get it against one of us. But until next time, we'll see y'all on Wednesday. Have a good one, everybody, and we are out of here. Peace.
We out.